Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ian Lenhart from damngoodday.com, and today I'm going to share with you my 18-month journey to finally find relief from sciatica. If you're watching this video, you or someone you love is currently suffering with sciatica, and first off, I just need to say, I'm so sorry. Sciatica sucks. It's debilitating, it's awful, it's scary, it's painful, and all the while you're navigating a healthcare system where you're doing things like EMGs, MRIs, X-rays, epidural shots, taking pain pills, and maybe even, going under the knife in some form of surgery. And I've been putting off this video because first off, there's so much about this topic that I just haven't mentally committed to putting it all into one easy to listen to video. Second, I hadn't fully been recovered, but today is my 9 months since my life-changing surgery for one of the rarest causes of sciatica, which we'll get into. And today I'm feeling good, I'm dancing, I'm squatting. Amazing. And lastly, it's sort of a controversial topic in the health and wellness world, especially when you start to compare Eastern versus Western medicine. Overall, I hope that this video helps somebody find relief, get the information they need. And my goal was to take everything I've gone through. I'll tell you my entire journey from being completely desperate to finding the answer in the end, but also to tell you all of the different alternative therapies that you can do to potentially and very realistically avoid surgery. Surgery should be like the last thing, the last resort. Before I go further, I am not a doctor. I'm not a certified naturopath or a chiropractor. I am just a struggling patient that went through the ringer with all of this. So anytime you take medical advice, you should absolutely consult your doctor and get their advice as well. And if you find this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Damn Good Day. We also have a podcast called The Damn Good Day Show where we interview top performers in the health and wellness world and basically people just doing great stuff to try to live a happy life. Lastly, share this video with somebody that's in pain, that's suffering. I always just get so much joy when I get DMs from people on my Instagram or Facebook of just, that one video, that one thing someone said really changed someone's life. So where do we begin? What is sciatica? Mayo Clinic defines sciatica as the following. Sciatica is a nerve pain from an injury or irritation to the sciatic nerve, which originates in your buttocks or gluteal area. The sciatic nerve is the longest and thickest nerve in the body. It's actually made up of 5 nerve roots, 2 from the lower back region called the lumbar spine, and 3 from the final section of the spine called the sacrum. The 5 roots come together to form a right and left sciatic nerve. On each side of your body, one sciatic nerve runs through the hips, buttocks, and down a leg, ending just below the knee. The sciatic nerve then branches into other nerves which continue down your leg and into your foot and toe. Most sciatic pain is caused by an irritation, inflammation, pinching, or compression of a nerve in the lower back. The most common causes are herniated discs and slip discs that cause pressure on the nerve roots. One thing to clarify, that real injury to the actual sciatic nerve is rare, but the term sciatica is commonly used to describe any pain that originates in the lower back and radiates down the leg. And so what's a herniated disc and how does it compare to a bulging disc? The simplest explanation I found is that discs act as cushions between the vertebrae and your spine. A spinal disc has a soft jelly-like center, or the nucleus, encased in a tougher rubbery exterior. Think of it like little jelly donuts that are in between your vertebrae that are just keeping everything in line. A herniated disc, also sometimes called a slip disc or a ruptured disc, occurs when some of that nucleus essentially pushes through a tear in that jelly donut. The difference between a bulging disc and a herniated disc is a bulging disc is sort of like letting air out of a tire. The disc ends up sagging and creates a bulge, kind of like pushing a patty together. Something that I found interesting throughout this whole thing is that it's very normal as we age for our discs to actually degenerate and bulge downward. Therefore, even if you have bulging discs, it very well may not be the actual cause of that pain, which was my situation. So you'll learn about that in a bit. Let's talk about some other leading causes of sciatica and nerve pain in general. The first we just spoke about, bulging or herniated discs. The second, lumbar spinal stenosis. Spinal stenosis is a narrowing of the spaces within your spine, which can put pressure on the nerves that travel through the spine. This most often occurs in the lower back and the neck. Some people who have spinal stenosis may not actually have any symptoms. Others may experience pain, tingling, numbness, and muscle weakness, and the symptoms can worsen over time. Another cause is spondylolisthesis. I don't know how to say that. But essentially, this is when one of the vertebrae of the bones that make up your spine slips out of place over the other. Another cause is actual trauma to the spinal cord directly in some form of injury. Another one is piriformis syndrome. This occurs when the piriformis muscle spasms and irritates or compresses the sciatic nerve. This one's interesting because it often causes symptoms that are similar to sciatica, though it is not caused by any sort of spinal problem like many forms of sciatica are. And lastly, in the most rare conditions, tumors or some sort of mass that's actually touching the sciatic nerve. So now you have a good idea of what is sciatica and what causes sciatica. So next I'm going to tell you my personal journey of how I ended up here. So back in January 2019, I'm living in Santa Monica, California at the time. I just ate tender greens. Tender greens is fire, by the way. There was this little chain fence and I remember just kind of like stepping over the fence. And when I stepped, I felt this electrical just pulse run up my foot. And I was like, ah. So then naturally, I just took a few weeks off, just chilled, laid back, didn't go to the gym, didn't work out. But it kept happening. And so I went to the foot doctor, explained that I'm having this like really sharp pain in my foot. So naturally they did an x-ray on the foot, which came back completely normal. Then the next step was do an MRI on the foot. The results came back that my tibial tendon was mildly thickened, and thus my result was I had posterior tibial tendonitis. So I'm stoked. I'm like, all right, fantastic. I'm gonna put this thing on my foot that pumps air in between the heel of your foot to release pressure, and I'm just gonna walk around with it and I'll be better in no time. Fast forward 3 months, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And I said, hey doc, I noticed that when I'm sitting down, the pain is actually worse. So the doctor's like, aha, must be your lower back then, let's check it out. Did the x-rays, came back completely normal. 2 weeks later, got another MRI, but this time on my lower back. Results came back that I had mild degenerative disease at the L5S1, and that there was a mild loss of disc space height with annual fissure. There was a central disc protrusion measuring 6 millimeters, resulting in mild central spinal canal stenosis. So once again, I'm stoked. I'm like, all right, we found the culprit, we found the answer. Let's, lower that disc bulge and let's get to some PT. And at this point, I'm in a lot of pain. So I'm looking at different therapies to try to figure it out. I actually found a chiropractor who offered spinal decompression therapy. Essentially what spinal decompression is that you lay on a machine that they strap up to you and it pulls you apart, kind of expands the spinal column so that it would allow the discs to pop back in. So I'm doing this several times a week alongside doing physical therapy. Basically, they said that you want to strengthen your core. By strengthening your core, it allows you to use less muscles in your lower back, which is ultimately going to allow you to have less pain. Fast forward a few months, I'm doing everything that you would do for a disc bulge, but it's only getting worse. So I call the docs, they're wonderful. They get me back in to try something new. This time, let's try an EMG. An EMG, or electromyography, I think I said that right, is a diagnostic procedure to assess the health of muscles and the nerve cells that control them, or the motor neurons. EMG results can reveal nerve dysfunction, muscle dysfunction, or problems with nerve to muscle signal transmission. Motor neurons transmit electrical signals that cause muscles to contract. Therefore, an EMG uses tiny devices called electrodes to translate these signals into graphs, sounds, or numerical values that are interpreted by a specialist. During an EMG, a needle electrode, so like literally like a needle, is put into the muscle and records the electrical activity in that muscle. Then a nerve conduction study, which is another part of an EMG, uses electrode stickers applied to the skin to measure the speed and strength of the signals traveling between two or more parts. So basically you're lying on a table and a doctor's, kind of poking you with a needle and then sending electrical signals into your body. It's like, and then they're seeing, some graph on the computer that's measuring your motor neurons. EMGs are often necessary to help diagnose or rule out a number of potential conditions that could be causing your sciatica. For example, muscle disorders, diseases affecting the connection between the nerve and the muscle, disorders of nerves outside the spinal cord, or peripheral nerves such as carpal tunnel syndrome or peripheral neuropathies, disorders that affect the motor neurons in the brain or spinal cord such as polio, or disorders that affect the nerve root such as a herniated disc in the spine. The results, nerves are fine, another dead end. Let's keep going. So then a few weeks later, I got a third MRI, but this time on my pelvis. I read that deep in the back of your pelvis, you have a joint called the sacroiliac, or the SI joint, which connects the bottom of your spine to your pelvis on each side. Problems with these joints are associated with up to 30% of lower back pain cases. Got the results back, everything was fine, so let's think of something else. A couple months go by and I'm just in so much pain. Like, I'm trying to be a normal person, I'm trying to work out, I can't do that. Every time I step, my left foot is just basically feels like I'm stepping on electric bolts. Like if that's a thing, you're just like, boom, boom, just Zeus just coming in hot every second. So the doctors thought, hey, let's do another MRI in the foot and see if anything changed between then and before to see if it actually was the posterior tibial tendonitis. Results came back, everything's fine. We hit another dead end. The doctor said, hey, maybe let's check out neurology and see what they have to say. I see the neurologist. She's doing all the tests to make sure my nerve functions are good. I pass all the tests flawlessly, but I tell her I'm in so much pain. So she says, here, I'm going to prescribe you gabapentin. If you're in any sort of sciatica spine group, you've seen gabapentin be talked about by a lot of people. I read that gabapentin is mostly used to treat partial seizures along with other seizure medications in adults and or children who have epilepsy. In my case, I was prescribed gabapentin to dull the nerve pain. Alongside all these issues with sciatica, I was also dealing with a stomach issue called SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. You can check out the video about that here. And the thing about SIBO is that anti-inflammatories and pills like ibuprofen are a big cause of stomach issues. So by taking gabapentin, I might have been dulling the pain with one issue, but I was making another worse. And because of the SIBO, my digestion was a nightmare. I was dealing with constipation and all these just terrible side effects that when you have food rotting in your stomach. So at the time, I can't sleep. Like anyone that has sciatica, when you're laying down, it's literally like Zeus is just whipping lightning bolts at you while you're trying to sleep. Mentally, it's just debilitating. And then you factor on a few weeks, months of just not sleeping, or maybe only getting like 3 or 4 hours a night. It's pretty common for people to just lose it when dealing with sciatica for long periods of time. Meanwhile, all of the internet you read that, oh, it's your mattress. Your mattress may be causing sciatica, which may be the case. I tried 3 different mattresses and that clearly didn't work. And then I also read that being on a very firm mattress is good for you. I tried sleeping on the floor, just like, on the back. So I'm sitting on the floor, just trying to make the pain go away, trying to sleep. It's not working. I'm taking gabapentin. In life, especially when it comes to health, you need a plan. So I'm reading all of these books trying to figure out what else I can do. I read about a condition called plantar fasciitis, which is one of the most common causes of heel pain. It involves inflammation of a thick band of tissue that runs across the bottom of your foot and connects your heel bone to your toes or your plantar fascia. This condition commonly causes stabbing pain that usually occurs with your first steps in the morning. As you get up and move, the pain normally decreases, but it might return after long periods of standing or when you stand up after sitting. This condition is common in people that are either runners, people that are overweight, or people that are wearing shoes with inadequate support. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got the nerve pain in my foot. This is money. This is it. I go see a podiatrist. First off, I try an epidural shot in the actual plantar fasciitis, or the plantar fascia, to see if that helps. Didn't do anything, but I'm like, let's try this out. I then had custom orthotics made. Basically, they take your foot, put it in a mold, and they create a custom orthotic. It's pretty expensive. It's like $600-700. Then you take these custom orthotics, you put them in your shoes, and you walk along, and hopefully, over time, it allows your plantar fasciitis to heal and relieve pain. Doing that for months, things were only getting worse. I'm only getting more and more depressed. Meanwhile, I'm running my podcast, I'm working full time. It's crazy. So you know what? I go back to the drawing board and I say, hey, let's relook at the spine because clearly I've been doing a lot of work on the spine. My doctor agrees. My thought process is I wanted to see if all of this therapy I was doing for my back, like spinal decompression, physical therapy, cupping therapy, and the other type of stuff, I wanted to see if it was actually, lessening or shortening my disc bulge. So at the end of May, I get another MRI on my lower back. This is the 5th total MRI in this journey. And the results showed that my L5-S1 disc bulge actually went from 6 millimeters to 2 to 3 millimeters, meaning it got better than it was before, which was all the evidence I needed to understand that clearly this isn't my lower back. My doctor still suggested I should try getting an epidural shot. Now, if you've been suffering with sciatica for a long time, chances are you've gotten an epidural shot before. An epidural steroid injection involves injecting a local anesthetic and a steroid medication directly into the epidural space that surrounds the spinal cord and the nerve roots. The idea here is that this can provide relief to the area that's affecting the nerve for several months or even years. So some people are on a straight up revolving door getting these epidural shots. I got the procedure, didn't help at all. Later that month, I got another epidural injection, but this time somewhere like right above my butt, or bursitis, I think, or something along that lines. Basically to rule out if that was the area that was causing it. Just a giant needle and some really nice hospital workers, but it let us know. I'm back home in New York and I'm feeling my leg. And I realized there's this one area in my thigh that literally this area, when I pushed into it on the bottom of my thigh, it mimicked the pain in my foot. And I'm like, ding, 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 what's going on there? Therefore, I fly back to California, get an x-ray on my knee, get an MRI on my femur, and then get a second EMG, which was ordered by my doctor to see if there was anything else going on there. The second EMG was at Cedars-Sinai Institute. They're amazing, but results came back the same, nothing wrong. A few days go by, I don't hear from anyone. I call up my doctor and find out I have a peripheral nerve sheath tumor growing on and around the sciatic nerve in my thigh. It's a very weird situation when your son calls you and he goes, "Hey dad, guess what? What? I have a tumor." What? I was stoked because we had a solution. We knew what it was. All we had to do was cut it out. All of my doctors were shocked, right? Like, this is very rare to not only see this tumor, but to see it on the sciatic nerve. For that reason, I needed a neurosurgeon because it was a very precise surgery. Found the most amazing neurosurgeon, got the surgery done at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. After the surgery, I had no feeling about 6 by 3 feet on the skin because I guess it takes a long time for the nerves to regrow, and some of them don't completely regrow. 9 months later, had the surgery. Today, I feel amazing. I'm back at the gym. I'm crushing the Stairmaster. I'm doing squats. You know, I'm out here straight squatting. It's just a damn good day to have a damn good day. So that was a lot, but this journey was a lot. So first off, I hope you got some ideas on what to explore next in terms of your specific issue. But this next half of the video, I'm gonna go over some of the common therapies that people use to treat sciatica. And I think I'll give you a good perspective because I personally have done them all. Starting with the most obvious one. Most sciatica symptoms can just get relieved with some limited bed rest, a little hot and cold packs, and maybe some anti-inflammatories if that's your thing. I'm super against anti-inflammatories. I think they're terrible for your gut and I'm all about that. So I personally don't recommend it. But that leads to the number one therapy, which is physical therapy. When I did physical therapy the first time, it didn't address anything because they had the wrong diagnosis. The tumor, the pain was coming from the tumor in my leg, not from my lower back. So I'm doing all this lower back stuff, but it's not doing anything. But there's this one stretch above all else that I found worked really well for me, and I still do to this day. Now, I'm not a physical therapist trainer, but the idea is that you go on your stomach, go up onto your elbows, take some deep breaths and relax your pelvis into the floor. Once you feel that your pelvic is relaxed, slowly push up onto your hands to create that backward bending motion with your head heading up. At the top of it, you want to take a deep breath and continue to sink your hips down into the ground. After 1 or 2 seconds, slowly come back to the ground and then continue to do this. These are prone press-ups. And the idea is that they can help release tension from the bulging disc or the herniated disc on the sciatic nerve. You'll know pretty fast if this gives you relief. Some people are just gonna be like, oh man, it's gonna be like the greatest thing on earth. And some people won't. The thing I do need to tell you is you need to do it a lot if you're gonna see results, right? Like, a lot of people have back pain their entire life and they're only dealing with it now because this is, you know, the first time they found out they had back pain. So you have to do it and do it consistently. But I found that that personally helped me just with my overall health as well. Another therapy I want to talk about is spinal decompression. This therapy involves stretching the spine using a traction table or some sort of similar motorized device with the goal of relieving back pain and or leg pain. In this therapy, both traction and decompression therapy are applied with the goals of relieving pain and promoting an optimal healing environment for bulging, degenerating, or herniated discs. Here's my take on this. I think it's awesome. I mean, technically my disc bulge went from 6 millimeter to 2 to 3 millimeter. I think a big reason was because of that. Number one, it's most effective if you do it immediately after like an injury that caused a herniated disc. It's less effective the more time you wait after the disc has been herniated or bulged, etc. Another big negative is that it's kind of a sketchy industry in my opinion. Not the industry of chiropractic care, just this specific machine, because it costs a lot of money to use. Because most insurance carriers won't cover the therapy, I had to spend north of $5,000 for about 25 to 30 of these treatments. And when you're in chronic pain with sciatica, you'll do anything to get rid of it. So like, I'm just like, let's go, baby. Overall though, I do think it was effective and it just makes sense to me. You're literally pulling the disc apart so that the disc can slide in. Like, that makes sense to me. But again, all results are going to vary based on your body and your experience. The next one is chiropractic care in general. And because of my history with these back problems, I've seen a lot of chiropractors. And let me tell you, there are really great chiropractors out there and there are not so great chiropractors out there. You need to do your research and really try different people to understand who works best for you. For example, I am so stoked on my current chiropractor out in Fort Lauderdale. If anyone wants that info, I'm happy to toss you him. He's amazing. They use a method called the NUCA NUCA method. The idea with NUCA is they take a lot of x-rays, which, is a bit sketchy in itself, just getting blasted with x-rays, but apparently it's very minimal amount of actual radiation exposure. And the idea is you can get a really good overview of the actual body. So when I go to my chiropractor, he adjusts my atlas, very gently just moves it over and shifts it, and it does wonders for my body. Another thing for me was my sacrum tends to get popped out, and a sacrum adjustment can actually help a lot of people with sciatica, because if the sacrum's popped out, all you have to do pop it back in, and it can, do a big difference in your body. On the flip side, I've been to chiropractors where you walk in there and they just go crack, 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 and you think, you're like, hell yeah, like this dude's or gal is killing it, right? But truthfully, it might be completely pointless what they're doing, or they might be making it worse. That's why I think it's so important that, number one, you find a chiropractor that's only adjusting what needs to be adjusted. Does that make sense? Necessary adjustments are great, but don't find a chiropractor that just adjusts to fill your chiropractic cup. Another not so talked about therapy that I tried when I was just in so much pain and just trying everything was this device. I swear, it's not mine. AKA cupping therapy. When I was super low, someone hit me with like this perfect marketing ad. Next thing you know, I'm trying out this new physical therapist online, and he had a lot of success helping people with, number one, doing those prone push-ups, and also cupping therapy. The idea is that if there is an actual entanglement in the lower spine, you would take this thing, pull out the inflammation, and hopefully it relieves any sort of nerve agitation that's happening. My experience, it's definitely very satisfying when you see like the giant purple marks and you're like, oh, this has to be working. But I can't confidently say like it helped or didn't help me. Another therapy we talked about briefly before is something that you would get if you talk to a podiatrist, and that involves custom orthotics. So this could be used if you have a really messed up gait and you've just been walking around on some, wobbly ass feet. The idea is that these custom orthotics can help you level yourself out, which ultimately relieves pressure on the spine, which can eventually calm down nerve pain and lead towards healing your body. Another therapy everyone should be doing is just fixing your posture. Like, we need to have better posture. And when you get better spinal alignment and you strengthen your core, it's gonna help a lot with building up that posture, which is gonna lead to a healthier back over time. In this experience, I never really knew how to work out, but I actually hired a physical therapist to just train me online to properly do exercises correctly. Humans are funny. We don't address things until shit hits the fan, right? One thing you can do if you're suffering today with sciatica is become the expert. Read the books. If you guys want to check out any of these books, I literally looked up everything from just dealing with pain to different back stretches and things of that nature. Become the expert. Don't leave your future up into someone else's hands. They're going to tell you what makes sense for them or what they've seen in their experience. Everyone is different. And I gotta say, try everything non-surgical before you make the route to go into surgery. I had many doctors, including that first chiropractor, that told me I needed to get surgery because of that 5 or 6 millimeter disc bulge. But that disc bulge was a red herring the entire time, meaning it was diverting attention from the actual issue. Now, obviously my issue is very rare. Most people aren't gonna have a tumor, which it was benign, thankfully. But still, weigh out your options before going under the knife. I'm in a lot of different sciatica support groups because of this experience, and a lot of people do have amazing results with surgery, so clearly it is effective. The two main surgical options for sciatica are a discectomy. During this procedure, your surgeon removes whatever is pressing on your sciatic nerve, whether it's a herniated disc, a bone spur, or something else. The goal is to remove only the piece that's actually causing the sciatic, but sometimes surgeons have to remove the entire disc to fix the issue. The other one is a laminectomy. I read that the lamina is part of the ring of bone that covers the spinal cord. And during this procedure, your surgeon removes the lamina and any tissue pressing on the nerve that's causing your pain. All right, so this has been a long video, and I really hope it's helping some of the people listening. Having different health issues, I learned that the cause of true depression is feeling hopeless. The root cause of anxiety is not having a plan. It bothers me so much that too many people today just accept what their doctor tells them or what their friend tells them. They don't do their own research. They don't do their own background check. They just take their life and put it in somebody else's hands and just look the other way. If you're suffering from sciatica or any other health issue, make a health plan. Try something new. I had to try like 7 or 8 different paths to find out I eventually had this tumor in my leg. When you're on a plan, your happiness increases, you feel better, and you feel like you can conquer it. When you're hopeless, you don't know where you're going, you're at a dead end, you're loading up on painkillers, you're depressed. Obviously, it's not that simple, and many people are dealing with just the worst health issues. But I've just found that having a plan, becoming the authority on the subject, reading all of the books, and making educated decisions based on your personal research is the plan when dealing with major health issues. Anyone still listening, I appreciate you. If there's anything I can help with, feel free to leave comments in the section or direct message me on Instagram. And due to the crazy amount of inbound questions on this topic, I actually created a Facebook group for sciatica sufferers that anybody can join. The link to the group is in the info section of this video. And it's a group where everyone comes together, helps each other out, and discusses their experiences with different therapies. My shameless plug is I have a podcast called The Damn Good Day Show, where we interview top performers and people in fields of health and wellness, business, finance, entrepreneurship, to understand what they did to choose the path they chose and what makes them have a damn good day. The motto in life is it's a damn good day to have a damn good day. And with that said, good luck with treating your sciatica.